just take those old records off the shelf. I sit and listen to them by myself. Play music ain't got the same soul. I like that old time of rock and roll. Don't try to take me to a disco. You never even did me out on the floor. In 10 minutes I'll be late for the door. I like that old time of rock and roll. Old time of rock and roll. The kind of music that soothes my soul. I reminisce about the days of old. That old time of rock and roll. Yeah!
Hi, I'm John Sebastian, and today we just might be giving you the best the golden age of rock and roll had to offer, as we look back at the era of sweet soul music. Soul was the heart of the Black American experience, music that evolved from gospel, that gave the church a backbeat. If you had to ask what soul was, you probably weren't ever going to know. No one started soul, probably not even Ray Charles, though he, Sam Cooke, and Solomon Burke certainly did their share. So let's arbitrarily drop the needle on the first hit of the mightiest soul music empire ever. The year was 1960. Berry Gordy, the owner of a small, struggling Detroit record company, had an idea. He called his protégés, Smokey Robinson and the Miracles, at 3 a.m. and asked them to run right over and re-record their slow ballad, Shop Around, at a faster tempo. Motown had its first million seller.
When I became of age, my mother called me to her side. She said,
Motown founder Berry Gordy Jr.'s first big break came in 1957 when Brunswick Records bought his tune, Reet Petite, for a sensational rhythm and blues singer named Jackie Wilson. Wilson, like his friend Gordy, was a former amateur boxer from Detroit. Unlike Gordy, Wilson's career didn't flourish with the coming of the new style called soul. But Jackie Wilson's dynamic performances were as athletic as James Brown's, and his vocal range as amazing as Sam Cooke's. Even if his material sometimes lacked soul, Jackie Wilson had it. This is vintage Jackie Wilson from 1963. Baby, work out. Two friends from the north side of Chicago formed the nucleus of one of soul's first great units. And like most soul artists, Jerry Butler and Curtis Mayfield began singing together in church. Butler was 17 and Mayfield 15 when they started the Impressions in 1958. Butler sang lead on the group's first big hit, For Your Precious Love, a record that's often dubbed as that elusive beginning of soul. When Butler left the group to go out on his own, the Impressions created a whole new style, rich vocal harmonies with gospel roots showing, and deep feeling that almost defined soulful. If you remember Curtis Mayfield's 70s Superfly, it's even more interesting to check out his early 60s lead on the Impressions, It's All Right. Up next, James Brown and the Supremes. Of all of his nicknames, Mr. Dynamite, the hardest working man in show business, James Brown was proudest of Soul Brother #1. He was the first black singer to sell 1 million albums with James Brown live at the Apollo in 1962. He parlayed the dance style he learned as a kid, buck dancing for soldiers in Augusta, Georgia, to make his family's rent, into an incredible stage act in which he lost a reputed 7 pounds a night. In the wake of James Brown's much-publicized problems, it seems important to remind people of his contributions, like the songs Don't Be a Dropout and Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud, his sponsoring of programs for ghetto kids, his performances for troops in Vietnam, and of course, his remarkable talent. In the mid-60s, Motown could do no wrong as Berry Gordy gathered and groomed native Detroit talent, and the company churned out hit after hit. Two of Gordy's greatest finds came out of the same housing project, the low-income Brewster Douglas high-rise complex. First, a male quintet called the Primes signed with Motown and were renamed the Temptations. Then their sister group, the Primettes, younger girls who had opened for the Primes a couple of times while they were in high school, wangled their way onto Gordy's roster despite his initial resistance. The Primettes became the Supremes. Teamed with writer-producers Holland Dozier Holland, the Supremes had 12 #1 records in the golden age of rock and roll, including this one. One of soul's greatest singers sang his first church solo at the age of 3. He was a member of the doo-wop group The Moonglows when Berry Gordy signed him to Motown, where he started as a session drummer. Believe it or not, Marvin Gaye actually played drums on most of Smokey Robinson's early hits. Smokey returned the favor by writing and producing some of Marvin's greatest recordings. As sophisticated as Marvin Gaye became later with What's Going On, he could hardly improve on the perfect soul records he made with Smokey Robinson in the mid-60s, like Ain't That Peculiar from 1965.